Hello, everyone. Welcome you to the podcast Leading Self and Others. This is Venkatesh, your host. Today we have a special guest. She has spent over 21 years working as a therapist. She has worked as an assistant psychologist for the National Health Service in Britain, a community worker for social services, and other therapeutic, coaching, and behavioral roles in various organizations. She has brought all of her expertise together in her intuitive transformational coaching that sets you free when nothing else has worked. She is Fiona Maguire, is an intuitive transformative coach, author, and speaker. You can reach her at www.realenergy4all.com. So, Miss Fiona, I'm just welcoming you for this podcast, Leading Self and Others. And I'm so glad to meet you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, you have been working with various companies as well as various individuals as part of your work profile.
So I was born knowing that I was very intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I knew back then is I could feel other people's feelings. And of course, for me, it was just natural. It was the way that I was. It took me a long time, first of all in my teenage years, and then again as an adult, to realize that some people don't even feel what they're feeling. They kind of live in their head and have little contact with their body. And that's not to say they don't get into emotional problems, but they're not aware of them. They don't actually have a relationship with their body, and therefore they don't have a relationship with their feelings. So being able to feel what people can feel enables me to help them at a very deep level, because I have a deeper understanding of what's going on for them.
So, your work is mostly about emotions, feelings, and thoughts.
My work encompasses the whole of the being, all levels, including spirituality and energetically and their intuition. And I found that unless you deal with the whole of the being on all different levels, then they might feel better initially, but sooner or later they're going to re-experience problems, because their defense mechanism, their unconscious mind, that old renowned pattern will come back in moments of stress and moments of illness, unless the issue is really being resolved that caused it in the first place.
Okay. To understand if we both are in same page, I would like to tell my belief and practice on spirituality. Okay.
Sure.
To put it in short, I keep spirituality away from religion. Okay.
Great, me too.
Yeah. I feel that spirituality has nothing to do with religious practices. So it is about how you carry. So how do you define spirituality?
Well, that's a really big question. So the way I really define spirituality, my own quest in spirituality, has been about who am I really? Like who am I, and why am I here? And what it's led to is knowing that we're oneness, that we're all unified. So we're all the same thing. And I believe all religions are pointing to that, but it has its dogma, it has its teaching. So when we really know who we are, then compassion and love and, deep connection happens as a result of that. That's what I would call spirituality.
Okay. So can we agree on that going deeper into oneself and becoming aware of oneself and being the one, right?
Absolutely.
So as we speak on spirituality and energies, people often confuse with the terms thoughts and feelings and thoughts. The emotional pain anyone goes through during or after a bad relationship, okay, either a breakup or someone being in an abusive relationship, or even when someone experience failures, or even being cheated by the closed ones whom you trusted a lot. Okay, but those emotional pain starts from thoughts or from feelings.
It really depends where the person's at and what happened to them. So for a lot of people, they say that emotion and feeling is the same thing. I don't believe it is. So I believe emotions, which happiness, anger, but what we're talking about would be, deep sadness and, an anger and confusion and a sense of displacement. Emotions are the body's reaction to what's going on in the mind, what the thinking mind is doing. So the emotions are a reaction to that. And then the emotions also then feed the thinking, and it's circular in nature. One feeds the other. So emotions, like thoughts, are nearly always about the past or the future. They're never about the present moment, where feeling, I believe feeling is the body's natural response to what is happening. So they can be the same thing. They can be anger, sadness, real happiness, real joy. But they're in the present moment. They're about what's actually happening now. And it can be completely independent from what's going on in the mind. It's more of the body's response, and it's a whole body response. It's a cellular response to what is happening in the moment. And it's not necessarily related to the thinking, because the thinking's about past or future, where feelings are present, they're what's happening now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, true. So it goes hand on hand.
The thoughts and emotions definitely go hand in hand and affect each other, but we can have a general feeling of being well, of being happy, of being in the present moment. And then things can happen during the day, and our thoughts go crazy and emotions rise. But emotions will just come and go, where a feeling tone is generally there for longer. It's not something that comes and goes. It generally is generally there for longer. And ironically, it's about the present moment. It's not about fleeting thoughts or emotions.
I agree. So, as we speak on spirituality and energies, so the key important factors of spiritualities will be like being conscious and awareness, right?
Yes,
So, in this pandemic affected world, as well as pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, however we divide, there are a big industry is booming now called saving you from depression, saving you from
mm,
stress and anxiety. Okay, so the industry is getting booming now to save people from those who are affected with emotionally ill. Okay, but the saddest part is that many people do not know that they are being depressed, they are under
sure.
stress, they are anxious of something. Even there are people who are anxious about themselves. Okay,
Yeah.
so what are the most prevalent signs and behavioral patterns that you see from anyone can become aware that he or she is going through an emotional attack such as depression, trauma, and so on?
Yeah. So stress is, like Bruce Lipton, the founder of epigenetics, says that stress is the cause of all diseases. And if we manage to rid ourselves of stress, then 80% of all diseases go. Now, people misunderstand that quote. It's not 80% of the disease, it's 80% of all diseases. So stress is quite easy to find in ourselves and find in others. Stress means, we're hyper alert all the time. We're looking for the dangers. We're in a reactive position with the world. We're looking for what's wrong. We're looking to react all the time. The calmness, the neutrality is gone. And, there's a sense of tension in the body, that there's not a relaxation. But how we know that's gone further into depression or trauma or prolonged stress is that there's a sense of disconnection from ourselves, from the world. So how that would show up is things that we used to be really interested in and find fun, they're not fun for us anymore. Our connections that we used to value and want to be part of, we kind of feel distance from them now, and we might not even be that bothered about it. And there's a sense of kind of numbness of not feeling or not wanting to feel. So therefore we might even take drugs or drink more or have sexual behavior that we didn't do before, or even things that seem healthy like excessive exercise or excessive dancing or doing anything to excess. So we're not really being our true selves. We've deviated from, because a lot of emotional disturbances, mental health issues, it's a split away from self, because that's how we're trying to deal with it. We're either denying it or we're trying to make ourselves better, rather than actually being in the moment, aware of what's going on. We're trying to fix it consciously or unconsciously. Does that make sense?
Yes, true. I also resonate with one of my teaching that I do through my book is that spirituality is coming back to yourself.
Yeah.
So you were referring a point that we are doing something what we are not ourselves, right?
Sure.
We are overdoing things unconsciously by trying to deviate from one thing to another. But trying to deviate is very temporary, and also sometimes more of an invitation to further illness.
Yeah, but what generally happens, especially with something like the pandemic, it was a major change, and that shocked people, and people done different things and took different actions, some good, some not so good. But then, because it's lasted for so long, people are now suffering from something called prolonged stress. Now, prolonged stress is very similar to post-traumatic stress disorder. And the thing about prolonged stress is it's like slowly boiling a lobster. The lobster doesn't realize that, it's slowly getting heated up to the point that it's going to die, because it's aware that the water's hot, but after a while it doesn't notice that it's slowly increasing. And that's what prolonged stress is. It could be a lot of stress, and then you kind of get used to it, and then it grows again. Or, there's that initial shock, then you go back to baseline, your normal stress level, then it's increasing over time. So what that means is a lot of people, they don't realize that they're getting more and more stressed. And so suddenly they're completely dissociated. They're not engaging in their life. They're on complete automatic pilot. And, they're not having joy anymore. An English saying is they're running around like a headless chicken, but not getting anything done or not achieving anything. And even if they do, there's no satisfaction in that anymore. There's a complete split from themselves. But the interesting thing as well is some people, particularly people in the West, they're not even that aware of what the true self is. They're more aware of stress, and they're more aware of thinking that that's an everyday part of life, but it's not. And everyday part of life is taking time to feel how you are, taking time to be with yourself. That's why meditation and being in nature has got more and more popular in the West now. And they're good ways of, even now, checking in with yourself, seeing what is actually really going on, asking other people around you, are you doing okay? Do you think I'm doing okay? It might sound like a strange question, but they're conversations that are worth having.
Yeah, when we are not used to have such conversations in usual, okay, suddenly it is quite hard to open up with such questions. So it is not in our practice. So suddenly it feels like some awkward or weird feeling to ask somebody, "How are you?" Because we are not really meaning that question, "How are you?" In general, whenever we meet a person, right? So to actually mean "How are you?" and "How are you doing?" is definitely goes a long way.
Yeah. And how you actually mean it is you ask yourself before you ask anyone how they are, you ask yourself, are you really prepared to listen? Are you really going to be there listening to the person when they answer you? If the answer's no, then maybe don't even ask it, or maybe ask yourself that question first.
If I don't listen myself, I don't listen life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. Knowingly or unknowingly, we carry some sort of stress in our mind and body. But how does it impact our physic if the prolonged emotional disturbances or pain being carried? What are the
Yeah.
impacts?
The impact is illness, whether that be mental health illnesses or mental issues or physical illnesses, because stress is, the chemicals go to the extremes of the body, the limbs, so you can fight or you can run away, and we've lost the ability to get back in our body and shake them out. So they build up and build up. So you've got all the four chemicals of stress, the main ones being adrenaline and cortisone, and they're there causing physical stuckness and tension in the body. So we constantly carry tension in the body that we don't need. So we're wearing the body out, and the mind is on hyper alert, and the mind is getting worn out. We go into rumination, where we constantly have the same thoughts again and again and again. So if you become aware of tightness and pain that doesn't seem to go, that you're carrying all the time, or you look in the mirror and you can see it in yourself that parts of your body are tight, then try and learn how to relax and ask yourself, am I stressed? What's going on now? Or if you're constantly having similar thoughts all of the time, which are repeating themselves but not actually going anywhere, then they're physical signs of stress. Where signs of trauma is, they could be, again, that complete dissociation where you don't feel connected with yourself, you don't feel connected with anyone else, or something has happened, either one thing or a series of things, and your mind is constantly thinking about that event or those events where you're having visual flashbacks to that event, or whenever something happens that reminds you of it, you're aware that you get tensed or you've got stomach cramps because you might have digestive problems, your appetite has changed, it might have got worse, you might want to eat more, you might be putting on weight, you might be eating to comfort you, to basically push down the feelings into your stomach. So to be alert, to be aware of changes in your own behavior, changes in your own thought patterns.
Okay. Whatever you are saying, the signs and impact of the emotional pains and disturbances, knowing that yes, I carry such a discomfort in my mind and body, how do I ask for an help? Because many people are not used to ask for help because it is something somewhat egoistic. Okay, you do not want to lose your pride by asking for that help. So, you being an coach as well as an counseling expert, how do you expect someone to open up with you? Because you are in the receiving end, I mean, the listening part.
Yeah,
Okay. So, how do you expect the other person to open up for you? That will help me to open up with others.
sure. I don't have any expectations, and I think that's one of the keys to life. If you can truly meet someone where they are without wanting anything, and an expectation is wanting something. If you can truly meet them where they are, and listen and be open to what's going on for that person, what they actually want to say verbally, or what they might be saying just with their being, then that is really helpful. So the first point of call for someone that wants to reach out, see if you have family or friends that you feel comfortable with, that you can talk to them about what's going on. If you can't do that, do you trust your doctor? What, and if you want to come to a professional, then obviously that has a cost involved with it. But hopefully, like myself, people are well trained, and being very open and having no expectations and being able to listen is of extreme benefit to somebody, and it helps them come forward with what's going on. But that's not what all I do, because that's how we get trained, or that's how I got trained. Counseling is all about listening. But that has a very limited benefit. But in the beginning, it's very, very much needed, and it's always needed to truly, deeply listen. But there also has to be other things that happen for that person to become well again.
Yes, people do fear of being judged, and
Sure.
also not open to listen anything extra beyond that comfort words. Okay, people who are suffering with such pain and disturbances, they do not want to listen something what they do not want to. Okay, even if it is good for them, they do not like it or accept it. So people finding a stranger is more comfortable person to talk with than the known persons at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the hardest things of being a coach, and I'm a coach with a therapeutic background. I was a trained, well, I am a trained counsellor. I was an assistant psychologist for the National Health Service in England and for other organisations. And the main thing I do for somebody, I have free consultations, so people can come and they can talk to me for free, because to help somebody, it's definitely an exchange. Some people are going to love the way I work, which is very intuitively, very openly, working with all of them, and other people that they're going to resonate with something else, maybe. So to fully be with somebody and to fully listen to them, but also in that first conversation with people, I will, if appropriate, I will challenge them in that first conversation. Like, I had a woman today and come to me, and I asked her why she was doing what she was doing, because it was obviously causing all of her pain and all of her discomfort. And I listened truly to her answer. And then I said to her, I think it's great what you're doing, but I'm concerned that your drive for what you're doing is coming from when you was a child. And I explained why I thought that and what that meant to me. And she said, you're absolutely right. And I said, the thing is, I'm not going to delve into your past. We're not going to spend ages talking about it. But I'm going to help you intuitively go there in a way that keeps you safe. And we'll only go there for minutes at a time, and then we come back to the present moment and discuss it. And the reason being is so you can then see all those emotions that have been stuck inside of you from being a child, and all that thinking and conditioning. You can clear yourself of that, which will bring clarity in the moment. And then you can think for your higher capacities. You can think with your adult mind, and your adult mind will drive your actions. So what that means for you is you'll have clarity, and you'll be able to focus, and you won't be driven by the thoughts and emotions of a 3, 5, and 7-year-old, which was the case with her. So going to a professional is very important, but finding the right professional that can help you quickly and can help you on all layers of you is going to get you well quickly, and you're not going to be re-traumatized by it, but you're also not going to have that same experience and that same problem keep coming up over and over again. So it's important to have someone that's present and someone you resonate with. And that's why it's great to speak to a professional first for free. Do you resonate? Do you feel comfortable with that person? Are they the right fit for you? Because otherwise you're not going to open up, and therefore you're not going to get the benefit that you need out of what you're doing.
Great. So, one final question with you. So, what are your recommendations to those who are suffering from emotional attacks and losing themselves? In other words, how do they release the pain or baggage what they are carrying?
First of all, find someone to speak to, whether that is friend or family member or professional. My advice would be, don't take drugs. Don't go to a doctor and the doctor say, oh, you need Prozac, or you need this or that or the other medication. Don't go down that line straight away. Find someone to speak to, and if that helps, great. Or pay for a professional, speak to a professional for free at first and see if you resonate. And also there's free resources on my website to learn how to come back into your body, to learn how to center yourself, how to bring your attention into you and into the ground, so you're not high up in anxiety or spinning in thought patterns, but you find a way to relax, to be calm, to be centered. And I give away that free on my website as a grounding exercise, anyone that gives me their information. Because you've got to find a way of going back to that peace, of going back to that quiet, of going back to calmness in you, to settle your body down, so you're not always in stress, that you're coming back to a point of equilibrium and stillness. I think that they're most important, really.
Great.
Last but never the end, buckle up to get inspired and more realistic thoughts from Venkatesh. Make sure to subscribe now, just so you don't miss any episode. If you think this podcast has inspired you and may help someone you care, please share. Leading self and others.